Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
While promoting his latest docu-series, James Cameron spoke of hoping for Avenger fatigue in relation to Infinity War and the inescapable presence superhero movies have in the current cinematic landscape. That plea would have perhaps held more weight had it come from a filmmaker not currently producing, writing and/or directing both a 6 Terminator film and a billion Avatar sequels simultaneously. But despite the source, there is a truth to Cameron's words. Blockbuster cinema is currently oversaturated with movies offering remarkably similar experiences and a narrow selection of stories and worldviews. Now it's easy to lay a significant portion of the blame at Marvel Studios' door. After all, they have produced a whopping 18 superhero films in a mere 10 years and are responsible for kickstarting the blockbuster trend for inter-franchise connectivity, resulting in incredibly varying degrees of success. And these films come fast and furiously, with the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe hitting screens just 2 months out from the last. It seems, even when at their very best, these films are given little time to make a long-lasting impact before making way for the next inevitable superhero-based adventure. And that's not taking into account the multiple imitators, with everything from DC Comics to Egyptian gods and English folklore heroes proving fair game for the MCU treatment. One can't help but feel that contemporary blockbuster cinema is superheroes all the way down. And yet despite all that, Avengers Infinity War is unlike anything I have seen before at this level of filmmaking, at least in terms of scope, scale and spectacle. Joe and Anthony Russo returned to the director's chairs following their previous efforts directing the Captain America sequels The Winter Soldier and Civil War, to present us with a genre-bending pig mix of pulpy delights. They juggle contrasting tones with an admirable, if somewhat bullheaded confidence, jumping between light-hearted comedy and deathly seriousness with whiplash-inducing speed. They jet us off to far distant planets, planting our feet on the type of fantastical landscapes expected of Dune or Star Wars, before bringing us back down to the earthly streets of New York and Edinburgh. In this way, Infinity War is very much the cinematic equivalent of an event comic book series, much like Civil War, with a near countless number of characters, worlds and franchises vying for the same screen space in a colourfully composed if somewhat overcrowded frame. It absolutely should not work. And it's an astounding feat that in the Russo brothers' hands it almost completely pays off. Infinity War is littered with a dozen plus legitimate all-timer moments, whether an inventive set piece on a dead planet shared between a number of heroes, an effective beat between long-established series regulars who have not interacted before now, or a shocking story development that'll leave fans shaken to their cores. But when viewed as a whole, the Russo brothers never quite overcome the impossible task of naturally connecting these many worlds, tones and characters, and keeping up sometimes proves exhausting, to the point that I simply stopped absorbing information. To paraphrase Homer Simpson, there comes a point in which the introduction of a new subplot pushes an older subplot out of my brain, which unfortunately diminishes what should be some of the film's strongest emotional beats, and torturously emotional this film will prove to many fans. Even those who have hardened to Joss Whedon's casual dealing of death to beloved characters will find themselves compromised from the start, as the Russo brothers demonstrate their mission statement with brutal efficiency from the off. No one is safe from the grip of death, here personified by a lumbering purple villain known only as Thanos. For viewers who have been living under a rock in a lonely corner of the cosmos for the past 10 years and are unaware of the basic plot, Infinity War finds our series of Marvel heroes under the threat of complete annihilation at the gem-encrusted hands of Thanos. While traversing the universe collecting Infinity Stones, which are gems with magical properties that when combined have universe-altering impact, our group of heroes explore the many ways in which they can intervene and stop Thanos and his minions before they can commit a truly terrible act. Where Infinity War shines is in the focus it pays to its primary villain, ostensibly casting him as the film's lead. For years Thanos has existed as a mostly off-screen threat, appearing to deliver a scant handful of lines while demonstrating little power or impact. In Infinity War he is placed front and centre, granting him the majority of screen time for development in a way Marvel rarely affords their villains. Despite his macho physique, he is an emotional character, capable of dealing out punches with devastating force one moment and tearful sorrow and regret the next. Villains of this nature are at their most daunting when you can almost understand their point of view, even if you absolutely abhor their methods for achieving their goals. In attempting an act of universal genocide, Thanos believes he is committing a great deed for the good of us all. And there's something terrifying in that. Perhaps it is that at some point we understand his motivations, and that terror is magnified when Infinity War explores the exact consequences of this great deed. As far as blockbuster movies go, there are none that explore the theme of death quite like Infinity War. However, despite one devastating beat in the film's dying minutes, you will know it when you see it, I never felt as emotionally compromised by the film as my many years of investment in the series should have granted. Despite the sheer volume of beloved heroes and villains lining up to meet their fate, none come close to reaching Logan's denouement in terms of impact. There's a finality to Hugh Jackman's swan song that Infinity War lacks. Despite what Marvel may tell us, this is very much part one of a two-part series, and there is a lack of consequence as a result. That leaves one wondering not, I can't believe they did that, but rather, how they'll bring them back. With characters in the series visiting the grave more often than a pensioner visits the post office, death is merely a temporary state in this universe. Still, one can't help but admire Marvel for executing one of the ballsiest moves in a blockbuster of this magnitude by ending Infinity War on a note utterly devoid of an upside. We know a large portion of these characters will return, but the cards are being played remarkably close to the studio's chest. Overall, I doubt the likes of James Cameron are to be won over by Infinity War, but despite its exhausting length and detail, there is something special in this latest entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Infinity War is something new and exciting, and that's more than worthy of our screen space, even if it's not something that completely works. And I award Infinity War 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Who the hell are you guys?